Friday night is the Rangers Journal night.
Yes, hello, it is 8:30 p.m. and you are live on the Rangers Journal on YouTube, on the socials, and we are here to discuss a couple of very important matters. What a 24 hours has been for Rangers. So yes, this is the Ibrox Channel podcast in its new home of the Rangers Journal, and I got some fantastic guests with us today. I first of all have Ryan from the Jers TV. Ryan, how you doing, mate?
Doing fine. Thanks for having me.
Oh, a pleasure to have you on, big man. Pleasure to have you on. Ryan was at the AGM today, so he's full of information that he's going to pass on to us all very shortly. And from one Ryan to another, we got regular Rangers Journal Ryan. How you doing, big man?
I'm good, lad. I just went to 5-a-side here. Gave one of our uploaders a good beating tonight, so I'm in good spirits.
You can tell that Ryan was playing against Ben tonight, can't you? So there's going to be a bit of this throughout the pod. Ben, how you doing, big man? You gonna take that from him?
Every dog has their day, mate. It was just his day, mate. All good, guys. Thanks for having us on again.
Every dog has their day. I hope it's our day on the 15th, that's for sure. But yeah, so a lot has happened in the past 24 hours with Rangers. And of course, last night we had a fantastic 6-0 win over Kilmarnock at Ibrox. We'll go into that a little bit later on. But of course, the more pressing matters was the club's AGM today at the Armadillo, or the SECC to everyone else. And of course, Ryan, you were there. So, Ryan, what was your main takeaways from that today? So, the floor is yours, big man.
Sure. Well, I think the headliner, and I think it's the thing that's disappointing the fans the most, is the player trading model, or lack thereof of the player trading model. There's obviously the talk of £800,000 has been brought in for Lammers, Golson, McCrory, Scott Wright and Cantwell. The question, it's been hitting hard, to be honest with you, but the question in the actual arena itself was quite wishy-washy. And I'm not 100% sure that the £800,000 is the right fit. It's what's on the company accounts, right? But that's the revenue that's been received between 2023 and 2024. And we all know that sometimes players are paid up in instalments. There's incentives built into their contracts as well, that if they make a certain amount of appearances, win a certain amount of things, obviously sell-on clauses and stuff like that. I'd like to think that we've not gave away 5 players for £800,000. Goldson, obviously, we were desperate to get him off the wage bill. I think that's been well documented. Cantwell, I think, was desperate to leave, although he maybe publicly say otherwise. I think he was locked out the door. Lammers as well. McCrory was in the last year of his contract. And I'm not sure what you can achieve as far as a transfer fees for Scott Wright's concerned. So I think that's the kind of main thing that people are kind of, most angry about. But looking at the accounts, to be honest with you, I'm fairly positive moving forward. There's been a heavy reliance on shareholder loans and directors' loans coming into the club. John Bennett especially has really dug deep for the club, to be honest with you. He's made quite a large loan facility available to us that we can tap into as and when required. He's got a £5 million loan secured in Edmiston House as well. So he's certainly put his money where his mouth is. And obviously up until recently he was working day to day at the club. But there's no more litigation. There's no more kind of skeletons in the closet. There's nobody chasing us for money, thankfully. So for me, it just financially looks like a huge reset for the club. They've worked obviously over the summer, which we'll see next year how well that's done, reflecting in the wage bill. But as far as I'm concerned, it looks as if they're just trying to bring the club back to square one financially, and put it on an even keel. We'll come on to the directors restructure, the board restructure in a second.
Yeah, no, that's very good. Very interesting take on kind of today's events, because I've seen little snippets. I've seen like text online on Twitter. I've seen things kind of that some sensationalized headlines that have kind of been grabbed. The interesting one there, as you say, is that 800 odd K for players in player trading. Now, it's a bit of a double-edged sword, I guess, isn't it? Because one, there was we were trying to make a bit of a cull in the squad, and it was quite apparent there were players we needed to offload, so that can lower some of the transfer fees that some clubs are willing to pay. However, there are other things as well. So obviously we have saved a lot off the wage bill, but there are
Yeah.
payments aren't always worked out very quick and very easy. I'm just going to go around the room quickly. So Ben, what did you take away from kind of the snippets you've seen for the AGM today?
Just the same as what Ryan said. You're looking at £800,000 figure, and you're going, oh, that's a bit of a fire sale, as if you just needed boys out of the door as quick as possible. But at the same time, there was a £2.5 million fee getting touted a bit when Lammers left, or that's what the total package could become. I also seen that we should be cleared £1 million for Golson, but as Ryan said, you're talking the 800k is just in the last financial year. So I'm not too sure if kind of the instalments we'll see it maybe in next year's accounts or whatever, but it is quite disappointing, especially when a few years ago with kind of Bassey, Patterson, and even kind of £9 million for Aribo, we kind of started a good player trading model, and it just has kind of disappeared. And the only other thing I really seen was £6 million reduced on the wage bill, which I think is a good start. We've obviously got another few boys out of contract in the summer who are probably decent earners. And the other thing I seen was the average age of the squads went from 28 to 23, which I think you can kind of see where we're trying to go. We're trying to get young boys in the door who we can maybe sell on in a couple of years' time. So I think the kind of first steps to a successful player trading model have been taken. It's just selling players at the right time.
Selling players at the right time, that's something we do have to get better at. Journal, Ryan, is there anything that you've seen so far? Is there anything there you want to pick out from that you feel that, you know, is good? Is there anything you see from that you're going, okay, that's a step in the right direction?
It's the average age of the squad I was kind of most impressed with. We've definitely brought the age of the squad in. It's going to work out. See like your Diamandi, your Raskins and stuff. We will, if they give them a chance to develop, give them game time, they'll go for a good few £1 million. Look at Raskin now. Do you know what I mean? Your Raskin looks like a £10 million player again. Do you know what I mean? We would have probably put him out the door for a couple of million in the summer if we get a chance. So there's a lot of young players that still need to find their feet. I think that's why we find ourselves in a position we're in as well. I think we're very impatient as a fan base as well. I think everybody's got to hit the ground running. So I'm happy with that. Happy the wage bill's been brought down. The wage bill was going to come down a significant amount with the likes of Lundstrom and Goldstein leaving. I don't know how much. Obviously, you're saying the 800k looks poor from where we're standing, but that might, as you're saying, there might be stuff behind the scenes there that we don't know that's going to, the values of those sales are going to go up, kind of thing. Just I see, to be honest with you, Goldstein, I'd have let Goldstein go for free just to get him off the wage bill, to be honest. You guys like the real high earners. Do you know what I mean? Like, I liked Goldstein, a great selling for Rangers. His time was up, but he was a high earner, and you probably get 2 or 3 players on his wage. Do you know what I mean? So, the point is, kind of going on a tangent, but the most impressive thing was kind of bringing the average age of the squad down.
Yeah, no, definitely. That was one big point that we did notice with the slide. Average age is 23.5 now from 29.7. So don't forget, guys, don't forget to follow Ryan at the Jazz TV on all the socials. Very good channel there. So Ryan, what else did you take away from that today?
Well, there was a huge emphasis on player trading is one thing that basically, if the club's to be successful financially moving forward, player trading's got to be at the heart and the core of everything we do. And I'm not too sure how I feel about player trading, to be honest with you. You look at some of the most successful clubs that do player trading, and they might be successful financially and bringing through a lot of talent and obviously moving players on and doing really well that way. But I don't see their trophy room full of trophies. Do you know, you think a lot of people talk about Brighton and their emphasis on how well they do and the players that they buy in for very low fees and move them on. Brighton won't win anything. You know, they might win the FA Cup on occasion, but they're not going to be one of the top challengers in their league. Ajax, how many times have they went through a cycle where they brought through a good club? But then there was this last season, I think Ajax were sitting, you know, 3rd or 4th bottom in the league at one point. And it's a concern for me that there's an emphasis on that. It's almost like player trading starting to become more important than winning trophies. And I'm hoping that they'll say, well, we can trade players and win trophies at the same time. But I've got a wee bit of concern that you might end up with a player who's instrumental to your team. Your top goal scorer, for example, or your talented playmaker, and somebody comes in and takes them off you for a good fee. The club will accept that because the player trading model has to be done. But what does that mean from a football perspective for us? Are we starting to look at saying that this is more important to us than winning trophies. Because for us as football fans, as Rangers fans, the most important thing is winning the league and being successful in Europe and having trophies in the cabinet at the end of the season. But I don't get the impression the board are as much aligned with the supporters as that's concerned.
Yeah, no, that is something. Now, obviously, you know, as football fans, it's quite difficult to kind of balance that act of a business and a successful club, but sometimes it does go hand in hand. Obviously, in Scotland, winning the league something like £3 million. We probably get most of our money from gate receipts and player sales. Now, obviously, player trading over the past few years, bar Calvin Bassey and, you know, Patterson, it has been very poor. Now, shifting that whole focus through to player trading, like you said, does that take the eye off the ball? You know, we have to try and be the best there is, you know, as a club. You know, we are Rangers and we are drastically underachieving. Now, there's been a lot of things happening this season. We understand that. But the player trading obviously will have to be a part of something going forward financially if we want to try and bring in the best. Ideally, I guess it'd be bringing in players, having them for a couple of years and then flipping them for twice or three times the amount, I guess. But that development stage at the club, are we able to develop players and have a successful side? I think that's the question. So Rangers Journal, Ryan, I'm going to ask you this one. Can we have a successful side with development players that we're looking to sell them for big money later on? Will that work?
The problem with being Rangers is we don't really have we don't have a season where we can go, this is a rebuild season, because the fans don't accept it. I think the manager just needs a couple of results. If he can keep us going, a couple of results against Celtic, shows we're going in the right direction. Start with winning the League Cup. I think the player trading model is massive, to be honest, and it's hard to balance it with a club the size of Rangers. But I think that's why Celtic are so strong. They can flex their muscles when it comes to bringing in players at angles and stuff like that, and just they've got a lot more money to spend than us. And it's hard to compete with a team that's got that size of budget compared to there's a huge gulf off the park between Rangers and Celtic. And I think that needs sorted. But we still need to be expecting Rangers to win things, and that starts with League Cup.
Ben, do you agree with that?
I agree with everything the boys have said. It can be hard, but I think Celtic have shown between Rodgers and June Rodgers again that player trading can be successful. Because I mean, they sold Juranovic after little time for a profit, and they took Alistair Johnston for anywhere. Probably looks one of their better players. Went for Edward to Kyogo. I just think the whole part is you kind of need to hit the kind of in a position. So if we were to sell one of our better players, you need the next person that comes in needs to also be a hit and just continue on. So it's whether, or obviously people look at us now and go, when our recruitment's been quite poor, but we would need that needs to change. You would need to kind of somebody, whether it's Copland, if he gets kind of scouts and stuff below him, and the kind of guys that are doing the recruitment, the analyst stuff, they need to hit kind of two or three windows in a row across kind of the majority of the window.
Can I just, that's what I was just about to say, Ben. Absolutely, we've got to. Ryan's concern is we sell our best player, and I think because we're so used to poor recruitment, we sell our best player and we don't replace him. It's like a conveyor belt with Celtic. They lose a top player and they bring another top player in for pennies. It's just they hit it right every time, and I think that's massive. If we're going to sell our better players, we need to bring in ready replacements. So I think, Ben, what Ryan's saying about losing your best players, the big concern is you don't replace them, and I think that's what Ben was trying to say. I think that's massive in terms of player trading. It's not just about getting a player and selling them, it's about keeping the club going. The most important part is us, Rangers, so we need it to keep going, we need the train to keep running, so we need to be bringing in players that can replace the players we're moving on.
See, just to bring on that as well, sorry to interrupt. I don't think the player trading model across the cities, you know, that far away from where we can go. Obviously, it's a lot better, and I don't think it's so much of what they're doing well. I think it's more of an emphasis on what we're doing wrong. We're not challenging them. You know, they're trading players and stuff. They're doing really well, obviously. We're not challenging them at all on the park. We're doing so many things wrong that they're not even looking over their shoulder at us anymore. They've just got a fair game at it. And I don't think it's so much that their trading model's that good and their model's absolutely brilliant. I think it's just that ours is so poor that it's making theirs look so good.
Yeah, no, that's a
totally
good
agree
point,
with that.
Ryan. Yeah, no, that is a good point because, you know, they're a similar club in stature size. They play in the same league. You know, why can't we do the same thing? No, I totally agree that the free hits at the Champions League every year is giving them some extra money as well. Yeah, no, totally agree, Ryan. So what else were your takeaways from today, mate? Because obviously it was quite a packed AGM. There were some good questions as well. I thought from little bits I took away, I thought John Gilligan spoke quite passionately. What else did you take away from that, Ryan?
So there was a wee bit of kind of breaking news about board restructure. So Mr. Gilligan basically said that he's going to be looking to move away from the board as soon as possible. He did actually say that he prefers being in the crowd rather than being in the boardroom. Prefers being a supporter rather than an employee of the club. So he's looking to basically step down as soon as he possibly can. Obviously, he's come in at short notice at a time of need, and it's appreciated from him. I don't know where we would be without him, to be honest with you. So everything he's done for us has been well received. They're talking about non-executive directors coming onto the board, which is quite a big thing, to be honest with you. The way that a non-executive director works, they're not in the club on a day-to-day basis. They're usually people who are vastly experienced individuals in their field, usually have quite a large, extensive book of contacts, but a non-executive director's role is basically to make sure that nothing's going wrong from a shareholder's point of view. There's nobody in the club looking to make a quick buck and doing things wrong for their own personal gain. So a non-executive director isn't always a shareholder as well. They can just be an employee. They're there to make sure that we're keeping ourselves right with things like tax governance. We're not getting ourselves into litigation problems that we have done in the past. So the fact that the club is employing non-executive directors and are looking for them, they're saying they're looking to employ people from the west of Scotland, which is a big thing as well, shows that there's a certain amount of trust from the board that they're ready to release a lot of their own control. So they obviously believe that the club's in a good place financially to turn around and release a bit of control and have effectively outsiders come in and stand and watch what they're doing with their club and making sure that they're doing it properly. So it's quite a big thing, what he was talking about, and I don't think it quite hit home in the back of the room what the club's actually looking to do with these guys. A couple other things I wrote down from these as well, that it suggests that possibly that there's two guys looking to possibly sell up. Julian Wooltart, George Taylor, they've only stood for 1 year. So they'll be up for re-election after only 1 year. It's traditional, usually 2 years with Rangers. So themselves, Park as well, will also be up for re-election next year. So there's a possibility those guys actually might be looking to exit the club as well. The good thing as well, from an investor's point of view, obviously spoke about we need somebody rich to come in and new investment, new money to come into the club. The fact that we've got non-executive directors on the board, from an outside perspective, if somebody's looking and shopping around with a bit of money looking to invest in a British club, then they might look at Rangers and say, do you know what? They've now got non-executive directors on the board. I'm willing to stick a few quid in there. I'm willing to, buy out George Taylor. I'd be willing to buy out John Bennett, Dave King, and put my money into the club. The fact that they've got these guys overseeing them now, it's not jobs for the boys anymore. There's actually a proper structure within the boardroom now, and I believe my money's safe there. If I put my money into that, I think I'll get it back.
I think that's a very important thing, especially when you look at what's happened over the past few years. Like you mentioned there, for once, there's no ongoing litigations involving the club, which is massive. It doesn't seem that massive. It seems like something that should be the norm. But for us, it's been something that we've had consistently. Obviously, lots of shareholders, a lot of people with vested interest in the club, not necessarily making the right decisions. So we are putting ourselves to, I guess, a bit of self-accountability to make sure that things are run properly and run well, and then you can attract investment. Obviously, from that meeting today, Jim Ratcliffe's name was mentioned. Obviously, Johnson himself said that they were in Nice last week. He had lunch along with several of his friends, fellow directors and officers, and the owner there was Jim Ratcliffe. So do you think that there could be some sort of potential partnership going forwards like that? You see a lot of clubs in Scotland doing that now. Is that something that we are actively looking to do, would you say, based on what was said today?
That's what the club collaborations and club formations were the two things that he said. And as I was watching him saying these things, I was watching John Gilligan as he was saying them, and Gilligan's kind of looking on the table at him as if to say, what you say, like, hold on a wee minute, like you're giving away the prize jewels here. That he actually finished what he was saying. We said, I've said too much. Just stopped. Dead. I've said enough. Thanks very much. And then, but he was good value for money, to be honest, Alistair Johnson. And the stuff he was saying about club collaborations, club formation. He mentioned Man City. They've obviously got New York City in the MLS, and they've got Melbourne City in Australia in the A-League out there. And he's saying that these things are other ways to make money. Clement started talking about it as well, which I'll come on to in a wee second as well. And he mentioned other ways, just other revenue streams, and just making us a more attractive proposition for investors. He spoke about American sport not being about, winning trophies. American sport's more about entertainment. And if we have clubs on other sides of the world and, collaborations going on, then it could well be that we're more open to investment. I think probably from our perspective, Hamburg sticks out for me as a massive one straight away. I think we've got an official partnership with them already. But the thing that I was talking about with Clement's desperate to get younger players moving into the first team, but he said that the gap between the academy and the first team is too big at the moment. He spoke about getting satellite teams involved. He talked about the B team being involved in the lower leagues in Scottish football, and he's quite passionate about that. He was mentioning other teams in Europe have it. Barcelona, for example, I think Dortmund have got a team in the second Bundesliga. So he spoke about these things, but I think it's all kind of moving in the right direction. They've got all these ideas. I think this all sounds great, to be honest with you, but it's all right sitting behind a table at an AGM and saying you've got all these wonderful ideas. It's how you get them out. And you know it's going to annoy somebody somewhere. Like if we turn around and said, Glasgow Rangers B are going to play in the Scottish Championship next season, 4 or 5 of the Championship teams are going to turn around and say, no, we don't want that. For whatever reason, I don't understand. But they'll say that they don't want it. Sorry.
No. I was going to say, no, it is one of those things in Scottish football, isn't it? Obviously, I can understand some teams not wanting that in some respects, but obviously there's a lot of caveats when you have a club down there, like you're not allowed to win the title and stuff like that. Obviously, there's things you can put in place, and it would help with the future of Scottish talent, really. We do need to do something in this country. Actually, I'm going to ask you, Ben, quickly. Ben, do you think it would be good to kind of join along kind of like what the City Group have done? Is that something you can see us doing and possibly seeing us doing that successfully?
I think so. I think we'd be a good proposition, I think, for maybe not like the City Group specifically, but a footballing kind of group worldwide. I think we'd be a good proposition. I just think I've got a few reservations with some of the things you've seen. Todd Bowley try to sell one of his players to another team that's owned by the same group as Chelsea, and is the boy Man City signed? Is it Savigno? Was at a French team and then signed for Man City, but get sent to Girona, and then that the Troyes get relegated and all that. So I think stuff like that kind of rightly would probably put some people off. But I think obviously there's a lot of talk about kind of Hearts and Brighton kind of their analytic kind of Tony Bloom's analytics mobs kind of joining with Hearts, so they're going to be changing how they look at bringing in players. So I would be open to kind of joining with clubs in some way, shape or form. I think it can only benefit you.
Yeah. Rangers Journal, Ryan, is there anything you take away with that so far? Do you think that, can you see us being a good option for other clubs to kind of link up with? Or is this something that's going to be more, we're just going to be a team to put players in the shop window for other teams? When you look at things like, obviously, do you remember Hearts back in the day? Obviously, Romanov owned Hearts and he linked up with Kaunas a lot, and they would just send their players over just to put in the shop window, just to sell, and there was no interest in getting them into the team or playing them properly, or they were just there for the shop window.
I'm not 100% on it, to be honest. It's just it's hard to believe that they've got the best interest in a club if they've got other clubs there, and as you're saying, if kind of they're passing the players around, you could end up getting good players from it. But I don't know. I'm not 100% on the group thing, to be honest. But I'd just like to see somebody come in and put money into it. I'd be happy with that, but I'm not 100% on the kind of group thing, linking up with other teams and stuff. I don't know these kind of people to have your best interests.
Yeah, it was a good little comment from Paul there. Actually, we were involved with Orange County, where Harry Forrester went to, weren't we? I don't know what the relationship is like that with them. We still obviously have a bit of relationship with Hamburg. We do, but I think it's mainly with some of the academies and stuff like that. But yeah, no, I'm not against ties. I think it's something that could be potentially positive. Yeah. So Ryan, what else did you take away from it today? Was there anything else that you saw today? Because obviously you had Nils Kopp in there with Philippe Clement. Was there anything else that you looked at going forward? Do you think that we will build on today?
Yeah, I mean, Coppin seems to have been quite a serious promotion, to be honest with you. He's went from a situation where he's the scouting, probably dealing with player acquisition. It looks as if he's going to be overseeing quite a bit. We haven't spoken about Patrick Stewart. He wasn't there. I don't know if he was in the building, but he certainly wasn't at the table. He spoke quite passionately about him. I think they've got high hopes for what Patrick Stewart's going to bring to the club. Spoke about his time at Manchester United and stuff, and what he can offer. I think he's a legal contract expert from what I know as well. So he's going to bring a lot. He's starting the 16th of December, which is the day after the cup final, so he's certainly no daft in that respect. But they're looking forward to that. Still not got a chairman. Said the chairman's probably about another 2 or 3 weeks away from getting announced as well. It was just a couple of, one fan in particular gave the board quite a drilling over the Hampden debacle. Kind of try to ask what happened. They didn't really. It was answered by James Taylor. He didn't really go into it too much. A sincere apology from the board on what happened. Acknowledgement it was an over-ambitious, as to how they put it, a project. It was over-ambitious. They've lost £64,000 so far that was recorded on the accounts, and they reckon that's going to go up to 6 figures. Truth be told, I think it did cost us the Champions League, to be honest. So the material loss and what you can actually give evidence of, but the fact that we lost the Champions League qualification, in my personal opinion, I think it's there. They've basically shelved any ideas of doing the Broom Loan stand. I think the idea was we do the Colt Loan stand this year, wait a year, and then do the Broom Loan. That's been completely shelved at the moment, from what I understand. I think they said we're not even going to consider doing a project unless we have stone concrete assurances that it will happen. G51 is back on the horizon now. That was the new sports bar that they're doing in the Megastore. That was part, obviously, with everything going into the Copeland Road and making sure we had enough money to finish the Copeland Road. So any kind of ongoing other developments in Ibrox campus were shelved. But that's now back in the horizon. They're trying to do that. They've got a collaboration with a company, Eleanor, something like that. It's the hospitality. Yeah, it's basically their food and beverage partner. So they're working with them to try and deliver that. I would hope that'll be available for us by next season. I think that'll be the thing for next season. That's just another revenue stream, and try to get as much money as they possibly can in. I don't really think there was any other news apart from that, to be honest with you. There was nothing controversial. A couple of nice graphs that nobody really understood, to be honest with you. Everyone's kind of looking at it to go, that's quite pretty, it's red, white and blue. But I came out of it feeling confident, to be honest with you. I'm confident the club's in the right hands. And I know that everyone was saying things like sack the board and stuff, but you can't sack the board. No. We're into John Bennett for like £11.5 million. How can we sack the board when we own £11.5 million?
No, that's exactly it, though, isn't it? It's AGMs are always kind of, it was obviously good to have that kind of apology about the situation which happened early in the season. It's good to find out what the root cause was. Obviously, they entrusted in a projects team, and obviously that they put far too much trust in. So obviously they're going to be a bit more wary in future. AGMs can be a bit of a difficult one because everything's, you get a lot of positive spins sometimes, but the things to take away from that, Ryan, like you've said, no litigations. We have cut the salary cost, which we saw in the graph. It's gone from 41 million down to 35 million. That is a positive. I know in modern football, it's one of those things, I think that the previous regimes liked to pay players like they'd won the league to attract the best, but it wasn't exactly what was happening. So it's good to see that we are looking to cut costs, and obviously it will take time. I think next year's balance sheet isn't going to be an attractive one whatsoever due to the stuff that's happened this year. But no, it's hard to take a lot of positives out, but the positives are we are on the right timeline as long as nothing else bad happens. And we are heading towards next season well. So no, Ryan, that's been fantastic from the AGM today. We're going to touch on now a little bit about last night's game at Ibrox, because it was actually the perfect curtain raiser for the AGM today, because I think if we'd have lost that last night, I think some of the set might have gone a little bit sour. But so watching the game last night, of course, it was a horrible rainy Ibrox. It's one of them games on a midweek where you kind of almost, in a sense, especially when you're not playing too well, you just want the game to be over and chips in home with a comfortable 2-0 win. But Ryan, yourself, were you at the game yesterday, or were you watching it?
No, I had a journal right with one.
Well, who speaks first? We'll go that way.
You've heard enough of me.
So we'll go with you, John O'Ryan.
I'll tell you my story. So my stick went down at half time. So I've watched some terrible Rangers games this season, and my stick goes down at half time. The Rangers score 5 goals in the second half.
So what you're saying was you were in Austria last night and you were watching RTV.
I was abroad.
That's what you're doing. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. So I watched the Rangers TV abroad. So I flew back in this morning. They beat Ben at 5s. I watched the highlights, and what a difference Giannis Hadji's made. His stats were always good with Rangers, even when he's having a bad game. He always registered a goal or an assist. So that's been really missing for him for the team. I think everybody played with just if they took a handbrake off. But I think that's been coming. We've kind of seen it in the St Johnstone game, even though it was 1-0. I think a couple of us were talking on the WhatsApp, and a couple of, not everybody, but I think we could see things are looking a bit better. Even against Dundee United, we absolutely peppered their goal as well. And that was the kind of first game I've seen Rangers pepper the opposition goal. So it's been coming, I think. I think you just need to trust the manager, trust the players, trust the young squad. Don't get too ahead of ourselves as well, because we could go to Ross County and we could be back to square one again. So he needs to keep the players' feet to the ground. But cracking result does come up. I don't know if come out, they do a great season, but come out, always turn up against us. So the likes of Raskin and all that as well. So you guys just come in, they look like Danilo, Raskin, Gaman and Hadji. It's like new signings. They've all come in and they've been brilliant. There's Paul says there, Raskin's fantastic. That dribble into the box for Shelley's goal as well. He's always velcroed to him. So it's good to see. It was the same guys who was letting the manager down. I think it was kind of, wasn't always his fault. We had to kind of persist with the same players all the time. And I think the pressure of getting to the likes of Dessers and stuff as well, we're asking a bit much of them. You've got Danilo and Gaman, and Dessers comes on, pressure's off him. He comes on and bangs 2 in. Do you know what I mean? So great all-round display. Great result for us, but we just need to kick on Sunday.
Yeah, we certainly do. It was really good to see. It's really refreshing to see. It's actually quite nice being 24 hours later and actually feeling positive about Rangers. But the team last night, it started with Butland in goal, James Tavernier, Suter, Balogun, and Jeff Day, which seems to be the go-to kind of defensive line now. It was Raskin and Hadji. So obviously there was one holding, one kind of going. Cherny, Diamande, and Igmane, and then of course Danilo as that kind of lone striker. So I did notice that the kind of formation was put down as a 4-2-3-1, but that did seem to be a bit different. It had a bit more. It was kind of 2 up top. Ben, did you find that later on in the game it kind of like merged a little bit and kind of it got? I think especially in attacking phases, it did look quite different.
I think the biggest thing was seen, so when the game started, Hadji was in the left, and Igaman or Danilo were kind of one behind the other, kind of like 4-4-1-1 kind of all the way. But the kind of fluidity between Igaman and Hadji in particular to kind of come inside and go wide. And Cherny, obviously, he was electric on the right-hand side at times. But obviously, he likes to kind of float about on the right-hand side, and rather than kind of come over to the left or kind of drift inside. So I just think that was the biggest thing, intensity and just fluidity and players making the right decisions and probably just having more attacking players in the pitch, to be honest. Not having a couple of left backs on, a couple of right backs on. You've got 2 strikers in the park at once, and Diamandi's probably more an attacking midfielder, Hadji's an attacking midfielder, Cherny, and it just seemed to click on the night. But as Ryan said, we kind of need to. We've seen it before against Ross County at Hampden, so there needs to be a bit of consistency. We need to kind of lay a marker down on Sunday and try to put our results together.
Yeah, we certainly do. It was interesting because that was quite similar to. I remember in Gerrard's time, Ryan Kent at times he would switch the wings and stuff like that and kind of create a little bit of chaos. And it's good to see the manager changing things up a little bit mid game and moving people around and exploiting space. Because don't get me wrong, Kilmarnock have not exactly had the best season on their books. I think Derek McInnes is going to be under quite a bit of pressure now, but they've beaten us already this season. Of course, we know what we're getting from them. They kind of set up with a kind of 3-4-1-2, so they weren't exactly looking to sit back. They had players that were dropping back, kind of out of possession. But you know what? It was impressive to see them not muster a shot on target. I think Jack Butland had nothing to do last night, which was good. But I'm going to call. Jez TV Ryan 1. I think that's got a good ring to it. I think it just makes things a bit easier. But Ryan 1, Proper obviously not in the lineup last night. Do you think there's a future for him for Rangers, or do you think he's going to be a bit of a Hemdani and he might get wheeled out for the European games?
I think that's probably on the nose there with the European games for him. We've just got to manage Balogun's minutes. Don't think Balogun's got the greatest injury record in the world. So we've just got to be kind of managing his minutes as much as we can. As far as the future's concerned, probably. He deserves a season to bed in. I think if we maybe cast our mind back to Borna Barisic's first season at Ibrox, wasn't particularly great. I think at one point he found himself out as far as the third choice left back behind Andy Halliday and John Flanagan. And then obviously recovered back to have a pretty decent career with us. So I think we've got to give him time. He shows glimpses were absolutely fantastic, and sometimes he's just like, what are you doing? So definitely I think he's got a position in the squad. He's obviously one of the more mature, more experienced guys in the squad. But I do, truth be told, think we can do better. But I think at this moment in time, I think we're okay with him.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's a fair assessment. Also, Ben, we did see Ridvan Yilmaz back in the mix and back into contention. Came on 74 minutes in. Obviously, he wasn't on the park for too long, but what did you reckon to him last night? Seeing him, is it good to have him back?
Yeah, absolutely. I think he's both cameos, kind of Sunday at St Johnstone and last night. I think he looked decent. I actually think when he came on against St Johnstone, he looked better than Jeffrey at left back. I think he looked more sound. But just having that option, I think, just again, you could throw 2 left backs on if you're playing a kind of tougher game, or Jeffrey obviously he's played a lot of minutes, and we know kind of that's a kind of bane in the WhatsApp, people talking about sports science. So it was about time, obviously, Jeffrey to commit to team and have a wee breather. But I think it's good to have Ridvan back. I think he's a good player on his day. I just think he's had a few bad injuries, and obviously people are going to look at the price we paid for him. He needs to kind of start producing more. Obviously, Jeffrey's probably done more in his Rangers career than Yilmaz has already, and he cost probably a shadow of the kind of money we've paid for Yilmaz. So hopefully he can stay injury free and get a good run in the team for us.
Yeah, no, I do hope that it's kind of good to see that injury list kind of dwindling a bit. Obviously, we still get the odd one. Obviously, Casemiro, whether we see him in a Rangers shirt again or not, will be another thing. There's a side to it. Hope we do see him again, but it's quite a difficult injury coming back from an ACL. Obviously, you can come back from it, but with our record with players with injuries, it gives you a little bit of the fear, doesn't it? Ryan, too. I was going to ask you a question on Dessers. Now, obviously, Dessers came on last night, and he was very good for the goals. It was absolutely fantastic, actually. Do you think he's better as a sub coming from the bench, where he can kind of analyse the game and come on when people are tiring? Do you think there is a place for Dessers in this team going forward next season with performances like that?
Absolutely. I think Dessers gets a raw deal. Sometimes because the sitters are absolutely wild. I think it's not just sitters he misses in it. It's crazy chances he misses. But he puts the ball in the net as well. He's got a good goal return. He's what was it, 12 goals, 13 goals or something this season, 21 games, something like that. So it's a not bad record. It's 1 in every 2. It's not really a sell-on age either, is it really? We've signed him when he's 29 now, so you're, if anybody comes in for him, I think you need to get rid of him financially, because you're not going to really make anything off him. You maybe cut your losses with him. But in a rotation with him, Danilo, again, man, it's good to have all the options now instead of just Well, I kind of feel sorry for him as well because you were playing him 90 minutes after 90 minutes after 90 minutes, and any top player could burn it. And they should lose their confidence as well. A couple of results will go there. He's going to miss chances because he's a guy in there for the full 90 minutes. He's going to miss his chances. Coming on as a sub, he was brilliant there, but I think it's just because the pressure was off him a wee bit. It'll do his confidence, so it'll do good. I wouldn't label him my super sub or anything just yet. I think he's still got a jersey to fight for. I personally would like to see him kind of sit in third place between the three strikers just now, but that's up to him to fight for it. But it's good to have a guy like this on the bench. Was just also talking about goals. He does score goals as well. So your top goal scorer. I think in all competitions for us. So it's the three strikers. I think the three of them are really kind of hopefully going to start hitting the ground running now, and they're going to start pushing each other for a starting place. But that can answer the question. I don't think Dessler sees himself as a sub, but I don't think he'll want to. So I think he'll battle hard for a starting position. But it's good to have guys like his kind of calibre to come on off the bench.
Do you know what? It's interesting what you say there. 3 striking options. I haven't heard that in a long time. It has not felt like we've had that for
just Dessler's, and that was it, wasn't it? Like, a man was ready to play. I can still see he's raw, so maybe that was the right thing to do, kind of hold him back. And Danilo coming back from bad injuries as well. But you've seen how much that meant to Danilo at goal at the weekend. Last night. So he's right up for it. Dessler's right up for it. So we're creating chances now as well. We're peppering goals, the balls in the box. Hadji's swinging balls in from deep, Tavernier as well. Do you know what I mean? So I think we're moving a step in the right direction, and I think Dessers will get a little bit more joy. He's getting better. He'll get better service as well.
I think he will. Yeah, no, definitely. Very good points there, Ryan. Now, Ryan, number 1, I'm going to ask you this. Obviously, James Tavernier was mentioned just there. Tavernier did start last night back in his kind of usual place. And it was a fairly decent performance from the captain. And we kind of saw 2019 Tav. Actually, the whole goal was 2019 Hadji crossing over for Tav, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Do you think there is a place for Tav still in this team? Obviously, we relied a lot on James Tavernier over the years for goals. That's something we definitely have to move away from. But do you think Tavernier does have a place still in this team?
Aye, certainly. Got to remember he's the captain of the club for starters. I think he's still got a lot of credit in the bank with most of the Rangers supporters. Took his goal great last night. Absolutely brilliant. It was vintage Tavernier. It reminded me of so many goals he scored during the Europa League run. I think it was the goal, was it Leipzig at home? Was it the first one? We're talking nonsense.
Yes, I think it was a similar one against Dortmund as well, wasn't it?
What was the one that Kent scaffed across? Kent scaffed a left-footed shot across the back post and he knocked it in. Brilliant. Happy memories.
And stuff like that as well. It was European games in particular. It was brilliant.
Yeah. So we've got to be wary of who he's playing. I wouldn't start him in the cup final, if that's what you're asking me. I was told Dujon Sterling would be either close to fitness or would certainly make himself available for it. I think we've got to see that his frailties, and I think that they would target him as well if he played. I think they'd look to move the ball out left as much as they possibly can and exploit him, and they've had a lot of joy from him. So I think we've got to kind of just be careful in that respect. As far as the future's concerned, I seen a bit of nonsense kicking about earlier on in the week, and it was stuff like he doesn't deserve a testimonial from. It's just like madness, absolute madness. The guy's dedicated. Yeah. He's given us the best years of his career. He's given us, he's moved his family. He's made Glasgow his home. And yes, there is things that have gone wrong, but it's not all his fault. He deserves the testimonial. He's given his, regardless of trophies won and how many things have gone wrong, stuff like goals that he's maybe cost and stuff like. At the end of the day, he's given us 10 years and he deserves to be acknowledged for it. So no, I'd certainly say he's part of the squad, but it's a shame what's happened to Casemiro. I'd like to see him back at Ibrox, Casemiro. I'm wondering if we'll do something similar to what we did with Cortez, that we had Cortez in loan for one season. He obviously burst his knee and we've taken him back in a second year on loan with an obligation to buy, I think there is with Cortez. So I wonder if we'll do the same with Casemiro again. But yeah, no, I definitely have to have, definitely.
Yeah, no, I think obviously it's about managing James Tavernier now. There are games that he can't play in, and the Old Firm games are definitely, we saw last season. It's sad because he's very much a Jekyll and Hyde character in Old Firm games. There will be, even in the same game, sadly they just double up on him, and it's too easy. Like Maeda just has his number. They get to the byline, cut it back every time, and it's a guaranteed goal. But at the same time, if it's a dead ball 30 yards from goal, he's probably scoring it in that game as well. There's a lot of high pressure goals he scored for us over the years. So, there is a time and a place for him. Obviously, we've kind of had that little experiment with him kind of in midfield, but I don't think he was still fully fit then. We have to remember that pre-season he was injured. He didn't have a proper pre-season. He was slow into this season because of that. And I think we are starting to see a little bit more of James Tavernier now. He has slowed down a little bit though, so there is a way. There are games that he can play, and there are games that he can come on in games.
I would ask you, right, 90th minute, 0-0, VAR steps in, penalty to Rangers. Only one guy in that team that I want taking a penalty for Rangers in the 90th minute cup final. It's him.
100%. You look at high pressure situations. He's been in the most highest pressure situation, being Europa League final. I know I don't want to bring up the PTSD, but he's taken that first penalty, puts it in the postage stamp coolly. The first penalty. Sorry, Ryan. I can see him down there, about to cry. But yeah, Oh no, I know. Oh no, trust me, my sleep paralysis demons is that Ryan Kent miss. Don't worry, mate. But yeah, no, it's true. Like, you look at that kind of situation, and there's no more higher pressure situation, and he dealt with it perfectly. And yes, he's missed a few penalties, but he takes a lot of penalties, so there are going to be ones that does happen with. So yeah, no, I do agree with you, Ryan. Ben, to bring you back in here, who is the main starter up front for us now? Because obviously yesterday we had Danilo starting up top with Igmani just kind of off him. Obviously Dessers contributed. Who's your main striker coming into the next few weeks?
I think if Danilo can play 90 minutes, it will be Danilo. I think just now, that was his first start, played an hour, so they're obviously trying to build him up. So I think between Igman and Danilo just now, I don't expect him to start probably against Spurs or Celtic. So I would probably say Igman, then probably Danilo probably taking over. I think I've said since the summer, Dessers could easily be what Adami does to Celtic for me.
Yeah.
That's his level for me, Dessers. And I agree with the boys. I think if a bid comes in, you have to kind of let him go, kind of due to the kind of age of him. And obviously we got a decent bid in the summer, and he didn't want to leave, which is fair enough. But I think he could happily be coming off the bench. But obviously you need the other two boys to be fit and firing at the same time. So I would kind of go. I could see the two starting up front again on Sunday, kind of Thursday, next Sunday. I think I'm hoping he's kind of get Sterling and Cotton Wool for the cup final, and I'm kind of hoping he's building Danilo up to start the final as well.
Danilo's not in the European squad. Danilo can't start against Spurs. He's not in the European squad.
No, I mean about the cup final.
Cup final, yeah.
Dessers will start against Spurs, but Spurs is a free hit in it. There's kind of boys. There's a few boys in that team that I don't want to see Balogun against Spurs. Balogun needs to be in Cotton Wool for the cup final. Proper needs to play. I would say Tav should play against Spurs. Sterling should be Cotton Wool if he's fit and available. But I just think it's good to have all the boys back. As you said, we've not probably 3 fit strikers for a long time, so obviously we had the Kamal syndrome for about 4 years. But Igman and Danilo, it's probably their places to lose just now.
It certainly is. Now, Ryan, number 2, I'm going to ask you this one. Obviously we saw Diamandi in the number 10 last night. We saw, we actually were able to rest a few players, which was good. Obviously, Connor Barron got rested last night, which he probably needed with the amount of minutes and ground he's covered so far this season. But obviously, looking at that kind of number 10 role, we saw Diamandi in there last night. Do you think now is the time for Bajrami now to come in that number 10 role, or do you think he's going to be utilised more out wide? Obviously, we see even with Albania currently, he's kind of still being used out on the left. Do you think that's going to be his position, or is he the number 10 for us going forward?
I've been screaming out for him to play more central for weeks, as you all know. I think he's wasted out in the wing. I think he can take a man on and stuff like that. I just don't think he's got the legs for it. I think you see some of the passes he can make, and he's both. It seems as if he's strong with both feet. I think he could with the movement with Danilo's movement, Shirley on one side and I wouldn't even mind Hadji out wide left, to be honest, and give Bijama a run through the middle. It's all intelligent players around him. Do you know what I mean? So he's a smart player himself. He can play those passes that some guys wouldn't see. So for me, I would 100% be trying to groom him into the 10 role and try and get him ready for the Celtic game, to be honest. Don't I look too far ahead? Don't disrespect Ross County, and it's a tough game there. But I think you've got to try and build your team up for that final. Your guys that you've got in your head to start the final. As Ben says, you like the likes of Sterling and Balogun and stuff. Just give them a free week after the weekend. For me, I would like him in the 10. I don't think he's going to get played in the 10. It's as if the manager's just that manager season with a left winger and that's it. Because I think he's had a couple of chances to play in the 10 and it's not happened. So
I think he played one game early on in the 10, and just sadly, I just don't think the team were performing well, so it kind of didn't look, I think, as good on him per se. But yeah, no, that's interesting. I think Clement's got his mind made up on that. Yeah, no.
Just to say, when he came on last night, he was very central. When he came on, and I know he game's dead and buried, but he was central. And Sunday, when Hadji was down, it looks like he was going to come off. Yilmaz was stripped, so he'd have been in a 10 as well. So I think it's not far away. I think if you can get Cortez,
even if he's on the bench and he's got to fight for a place for the 10. So I mean, I would rather see him do. I would just rather see him. I just think he's wasted it left. He shows you glimpses of magic, but I just think he's not got the pace. And if you had a pacey right winger, my thing is a balance. I think your two inverted wingers are quite. I know Cherny can take his man on as well, but there's no real. Flip the ball over the top. There's no real pace between the two of them, and I think that's what was causing. There's a lot of problems. It's quite rigid. So I would like to see him put through 10, but he's not been playing that outstanding really the last couple of weeks either. So he'll maybe take a spell on the bench just to find his feet. It's a new club, new country. So give him a little chance to take a breather as well, same as Dessers get his breather. And let people kind of recharge their batteries. Relying on the same, as we say, relying on the same guys for too long every week. But now we've got a selection of players. Hadji's come in and looks like a new player, and Raskin, Danilo. So it takes the pressure off our guys and lets guys get a wee recharge on the bench. And I think that'll be a world of good for likes of Bijrami coming to a new country and just kind of try to find his feet, to be honest.
Yeah, no, I can't disagree with that. It's always good to have actual options. That's something that we're so limited with earlier in the season, and it's just so good to see. But so our time's just about up. We've had a great discussion about the AGM and, of course, the fantastic win last night over Kilmarnock. Obviously, Ross County's ahead on Sunday, ahead of a massive, massive week for Rangers. I don't want to use the word season-defining, but, it does get used a lot. But, it will definitely show our intent going forward. So I'd just like to thank Ryan from the Jazz TV for coming on. They're at the Jazz TV on Twitter, obviously on Facebook as well, the Jazz TV. What you guys got coming up over the next few weeks?
So pretty much business as usual for us. We always do a live show in our studio on a Tuesday night. There's an opportunity for people to actually phone in on our Tuesday night show. We'll try and do as much as we possibly can as far as interviews and stuff. So we always try to get former players involved as well. That we trying to be Jim Denny in the studio a couple of weeks ago, so that interview is just about out now. I think the first half was released today. We're also doing quite a big appeal for selection boxes for the Sick Children's Hospital in Glasgow. So we're asking people if they'd be kind enough, if they've got any spare money, to drop some selection boxes off for the kids at the hospital and the nurses. There's drop-off points. I believe the Black Bull, Oswald's is one as well, Bristol, just to name a few. If you head over to our socials, you'll be able to find them all. But we're asking the Rangers family to come together and see if we can make a wee difference to the kids at Christmas on that side of things.
Yeah, no, obviously it's a hard time of year for a lot of people, and that's fantastic work. So no, well done. We'll definitely check out the socials at the Jazz TV on Twitter, and of course Facebook as well at the Jazz TV. So thank you for coming on, Ryan. Ryan number two, and Ben, of course, you fought it out on the pitch tonight. You fought it out here on the Ibrox channel, on the Rangers channel. Thank you ever so much, gents.
Oh, perfect, lads. Thanks for having me again.
Aye. Cheers for having us, Andrew. Enjoyed it, mate.
No, it's good. It's good to have you on, guys. And big time coming up. Don't forget on the Rangers Journal, there are lots of content coming up over the next few days as we get towards the Ross County game. And of course, don't forget to follow the Ibrox channel on Twitter at the Ibrox channel. We're on Facebook. We're on just about every blooming social media platform now, even on TikTok. I'm down with the kids now. But no, guys, thank you ever so much for coming on. Ryan, thank you ever so much for coming on. And every night is a Rangers Journal night. Take care, everyone.